Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Well, February is Black History Month and an annual observance in the United States for celebrating and remembering the achievements of African Americans. Black History Month is also important to the African diaspora. In Washington, D.C., African immigrants will be participating in a number of events organized by the D.C. Mayor's Office to mark Black History Month. To tell us more about it, I'm joined by Mamadou Samba, Director, Office on African Affairs at the Washington, D.C. Mayor's Office. Mr. Samba, welcome to Africa 54.
Thanks for having me.
Now, this is, as we mentioned, a really important time also for the African immigrants who live in this area. So what are some of, let's start with the next event that you planned this week that is meant to observe Black History Month.
Sure. So actually on February 17th, which is actually tomorrow, is when we plan to commemorate Black History Month. And our aim is to use this opportunity as immigrants to appreciate the sacrifices and the achievement of African Americans that have led to opportunities for immigrants to come in, live here, have the opportunities that we have. And so this commemoration will be the very first for this administration, where we will really explore this conversation, this idea of the historic ties between African and African Americans. There's a lot of discussion about the two communities, but we want to use Black History Month to talk about what they've done to allow us the opportunities to come and live and thrive in the United States.
Yeah, and there's a common history way back before. But the question is, some may want to know, really, how many people are we talking about in this area? Do you have any figures or at least an idea of how many African immigrants live in the region?
We estimate there's between 16,000 to 18,000 African immigrants. The real numbers is hard to quantify because of the lack of data, the lack of research. And if you include those who are undocumented and those who do not want to be counted, you don't have the real numbers. But based on the American Community Survey, the census, we estimate there's about 16 to 18,000. And this metropolitan area, which is D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, we have the second largest number of African immigrants, and we number about 162,000, right after New York, which has the largest number at 212,000.
What else do you really seek to achieve through this office,
Sure.
other than like commemorating a day like this? Some may want to know, what is the purpose of your office?
Well, the purpose of our office is to, we serve as a liaison between the district government and the African community, the growing African community. And we try to ensure that all of the services that the government provides, whether it is education, health, jobs, we try to ensure that all of those information and resources is accessible to our community so that they can take full advantage of it. We understand that when immigrants migrate to the United States, they face a number of challenges, including language barriers, cultural barriers, the lack of understanding of the very complex U.S. system. So our role is to be there to provide capacity building program, technical assistance so they can fully thrive and take advantage of those resources.
And is the thriving of the African immigrants parallel to the thriving of the other members of the community, or do you also try to help them integrate and become part of the fabric of the
Sure.
city?
I mean, eventually our job is to serve all district residents, but we work particularly with the African community. But they're all connected because, as I said many times, unemployment in the African community is also unemployment in other communities. Within the African community itself, unemployment is not just a problem in the Ethiopian community. It's a problem in all immigrant communities. Public safety is also a problem in all immigrant communities. So this is why we've taken the initiative of launching an African community public safety task force, and also working with the Metropolitan Police Department to ensure that they create an African liaison unit to work directly with our community to address fear of law enforcement, lack of understanding, and the lack of communication.
Very quickly, there will be a screening of a movie, right?
Yes, we will screen a movie that we produced this year. And what we've done is we selected about 6 African immigrants who live in the in D.C., and we've allowed them to tell their personal stories because we want to make sure, as Africans, we tell our own stories. Yeah. So the screening will highlight the personal accounts of the 6 immigrants to showcase their contribution to the District of Columbia.
We look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, Mamadou Samba is the Director of the Office on African Affairs at the Washington, D.C. Mayor's Office.